My favourite street food item from the Indian subcontinent? That is just a tricky question. I don't even know if I can answer that. I was in Jaipur and I found a little milk cake stall, which was absolutely delicious. I stopped at a little lassi stall, which was delicious. And I also had a curry kachori. So I reckon those three things together, not necessarily in that order. So some personal rituals before I step into the kitchen. Not so much. I mean, you know, it's nice to put on a clean chef's jacket, sort your apron out, feel like you're, part of it. But it's more about when I get into the kitchen. I need everything around me that allows me to work as efficiently and as cleanly as possible. So it sounds silly, it's like setting the scene. My chopping block, I have my favourite knife, maybe one or two knives next to the block. I always have a wiping down cloth. I have access to soapy water and a sink. I have a tea towel, a clean tea towel attached to me. And tea towel is for hot things, soapy cloth is for wiping down, neither interchange, which is important. So it's about kind of setting the scene before you start cooking. And also in a professional kitchen, a good walk around, checking fridge, opening lids and containers, making sure things are still fresh and delicious, and finding things that need using up, for example. So all of these kind of set your brain or your mind in the right direction so you're ready for the day. Oh, and coffee. I've got the coffee, didn't I? Just that little moment. That's a long question. Who wrote these? Yes, of course. I mean, throughout my travels, some of my favourite things, whether a little pav bhaji or a panipuri or golgappa, I mean, all these things, work really well when you kind of want a little vehicle, for example, to present something different. So I've used panipuri with lots of different things, as do lots of chefs. And then, on your travels, I mean, recently momos up in Leh Ladakh, love making momos. Or I went to a restaurant recently and they were using appam, which we all know, lovely crisp outside, soft centre, but with like a Kerala dry prawn fry in the middle with a poached egg and a spicy sauce. So all these things kind of add up to little moments of inspiration and you go, wow, that's great, I'm going to incorporate something similar. And breads, for example, interchange beautifully with lots of dishes. I'm going to actually use a local bread on my dinner tomorrow night. My favourite street food item from the Indian subcontinent? That is just a tricky question. I don't even know if I can answer that. Recently though, I was in Jaipur and I found a little milk cake stall, which was absolutely delicious. I stopped at a little lassi stall, which was delicious. And I also had a curry kachori. So I reckon those three things together, not necessarily in that order, were cracking. I think incorporating travel influences into your cooking is easy. It's all about inspiration. I mean, once upon a time, chefs would wait for a cookbook to arrive from overseas. It might take 3 months to come from America. Now, Instagram, instant transfer of information, or the more you travel, and I think it's accepted, you've got to travel to kind of accumulate information. Every little moment that leaves an impression is something that at some point is going to crop up in a dish. And that could be something being cooked over an open fire or on a tawa, or it could be a bread slapped inside a tandoor, or like a deep fried bhatura, for example, where you just go, that is a great idea, and at some point that's going to end up on a menu. So I think the more you travel, the more you're exposed to different dishes, different ingredients, markets are part of that. What I say is it increases your field of kind of information that allows you to draw down on and create something. I look at some of my wind down favourites. I've got two beautiful dogs. I've got a Great Dane called Fergus and an old mutt called Molly, who's 13 years old now, but they get walked twice a day. And walking them on the beach, which is about 10 minutes from my house on the Mornington Peninsula, is one of my favourite things. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's rain, hail or shine. If you're a dog lover and a dog walker, there's no such thing as bad weather. It's called bad clothes. So you'll find me out walking the dogs. And I find that refreshing and resets my brain. I love riding my motorcycles. I often go up into the hills outside of Melbourne and just me and the open road. And going out to eat, believe it or not, and that could be anything. That could be a bar for a cocktail or two with my wife, or going out for dinner, or going out for a quick lunch, or even just a toasted sandwich. There's a little place called Cellar and Pantry that's near my house, that's in the country, and they're a great little one-stop shop for all of your essentials, some great produce, but they've got a little bar there that does coffee, you know, and sandwiches, but you can also get a glass of wine and a beer. And often we look at that watch and go, it's 5 o'clock, let's go down to the beer and glass of wine.